What if I told you that a private habit you've had for 50, maybe even 60 years, a habit you've always been told is perfectly healthy, even necessary, is now, after the age of 60, quietly sabotaging your health? What if I told you that the very act you turn to for release and comfort is secretly damaging your heart, putting your prostate under siege, and systematically destroying your ability to even feel pleasure? It's a shocking thought, because it feels like a betrayal by your own body, and a betrayal by the conventional wisdom you've trusted your entire life. I'll never forget a patient of mine, a 72-year-old retired bridge engineer named John. He was a man who had spent his life connecting things, building structures that could withstand the forces of nature and time. He sat in my office, a man of quiet dignity, but his eyes held a deep sense of confusion. "Doc," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I feel like the bridge between my mind and my body has collapsed. I've been doing things the same way since I was a kid. But now, it just feels wrong. Empty. Draining." He wasn't sick. His lab work was fine. He wasn't on any new medications. But his vitality, his spark, the very essence of his confidence was vanishing. And he had no idea that the source of the problem was a set of habits he practiced in the most private moments of his life. The culprit here, the common enemy that I want us to face together today, is not the number on your driver's license. Age is not the enemy. The true enemy is a set of unconscious habits. Think of your body like a classic car. The way you drove it at 20 hard and fast is not the way you maintain it at 70. It needs a different kind of fuel, a more mindful touch, a deeper understanding of its engine. Those old habits, the ones that used to work just fine, are now the very things causing friction, wear, and tear on your system. They are constricting blood flow, damaging delicate nerves, and starving your body of the very hormones that make you feel like a man. But here is the most important thing I will say to you today. This is my promise. The power to rebuild that bridge, to reclaim your energy, your confidence, and that feeling of vibrant connection is not in a prescription bottle. It is not in a costly or invasive procedure. The power to reverse this damage is already within you. It lies in gaining a new wisdom about your body. It lies in making a few simple, powerful adjustments that I am going to share with you, step by step, right now. In this video, I will reveal the 7 silent mistakes almost every man over 60 is making when it comes to self-pleasure. More importantly, I will give you the simple, science-backed solutions to fix them starting today. These aren't just tips. This is a roadmap to regaining control, respect, and a deep sense of joy in your own body. And if this is the kind of straightforward, man-to-man health advice you've been searching for, do me a quick favor and press that subscribe button and the little notification bell. My mission here at Health Number 1 is to give you the tools you need to make these years the most powerful and fulfilling of your life. And I don't want you to miss a thing. All right, let's begin. Let's pull back the curtain on the first mistake. It's an epidemic in our modern world, and it is silently and systematically numbing your brain's ability to feel real, authentic pleasure. Mistake number 1, relying on a screen instead of your mind. I've had this conversation more times than I can count. A good man, a man who has lived a full life, sits across from me, his gaze fixed on the floor. He says, "Doctor, I just don't feel much anymore. When I'm with my wife, it's like there's a wall between us. Even on my own, the feeling is faded." My first question is always gentle, but direct. "Tell me about your relationship with pornography." And almost every time there's a long pause. Not a pause of shame, but a pause of sudden, dawning recognition. Here's what's happening. After 60, your brain's pleasure and reward circuit, what scientists call the dopamine system, is not as flexible or resilient as it was in your youth. Think of it like the suspension on your car. After 60 years, it can't handle the potholes and bumps like it used to. When you flood your brain with endless, high-speed, hyperstimulating novelty from a computer or phone screen, you are subjecting that system to a neurological firestorm it was never designed to handle. This constant, artificial superstimulation forces your brain to do the only thing it can to protect itself. It begins to shut down. It becomes desensitized. The dopamine receptors that are meant to light up with pleasure start to retreat. It's a biological survival mechanism. The tragic result? Real-world intimacy, the gentle touch of a partner, the warmth of their skin, the spark of your own imagination and memory. All of it starts to feel boring in comparison. I use this analogy with my patients. If you eat a meal of the hottest ghost peppers, what does a simple, sweet apple taste like afterwards? Tastes like nothing. You've burned out your palate. Pornography does the same thing to your brain's pleasure palate. This is not your fault. You were told it was a harmless outlet. But it is not age that is stealing your sensitivity. It is chronic overstimulation. The solution: begin a dopamine detox. You don't have to go cold turkey forever. Just start by making a commitment. 1 or 2 times a week, when you feel the urge, do not turn on a screen. Instead, close your eyes. Access the most powerful sexual organ you have, your brain. Use your memory. Use your fantasy. Connect with the actual physical sensations in your own body. At first, it might feel difficult, like trying to start a fire with damp wood. But be patient. You are allowing your brain's delicate receptors to heal and reset. You will be astonished at how quickly your natural sensitivity begins to reawaken. Mistake number 2. Using the toilet as your private sanctuary. This next point might sound almost trivial, but I assure you, its impact on your long-term pelvic health is profound. Many men, for reasons of privacy and convenience, have adopted the bathroom, specifically the toilet, as their go-to spot for a moment of release. It seems harmless. The door locks. No one will interrupt. But from a physiological standpoint, this is one of the most damaging positions for an aging man. Let's talk about blood flow. After 60, circulation is everything. Healthy, unimpeded blood flow is the absolute foundation of erectile health, prostate wellness, and your ability to feel rich, detailed sensation. When you sit hunched over on a hard toilet seat, you are creating a perfect storm of pelvic compression. You are putting direct, sustained pressure on your prostate gland. You are literally squeezing the pudendal artery, the main highway for blood traveling to the penis. And you are tightening the entire network of muscles and nerves called the pelvic floor. It's like putting a clamp on a garden hose. I had a patient, a 68-year-old retired postal worker named Frank. He was suffering from a chronic, dull ache in his groin, a weak urinary stream, and that frustrating feeling of not being able to fully empty his bladder. He'd been to other doctors who ran tests and found nothing. When we dug into his daily routines, we discovered this seemingly innocent toilet habit was his daily ritual. The solution: this is a simple environmental change. I challenged Frank to change his location. Instead of the bathroom, I told him to find a comfortable place where he could recline, in bed on a comfortable couch with his pelvis open and relaxed. Within a month, he called me. "Doc," he said, "it's like night and day. The ache is gone. Your prostate is not a cushion. It's a delicate gland that is quietly begging you to stop squeezing it. Give your body the gift of space and allow your blood to flow freely. But stick with me, because even if you're in the perfect position, there's a mental habit that can undo all the benefits. It's a habit born from a lifetime of stress, and it's secretly rewiring your body to feel less every single time. That's next. Mistake number 3, rushing the experience. Life has trained you to be efficient. Decades of work, responsibilities, and deadlines have ingrained a get-it-done mentality. Unfortunately, many men carry this hurried, task-oriented mindset into their most private moments. They treat self-pleasure not as an act of connection or sensation, but as a chore to be completed. A quick release to take the edge off. But here's the biological truth. After 60, your body does not respond well to pressure and urgency. In fact, it rebels. When you rush, you activate your sympathetic nervous system. This is your body's fight or flight mode. Your heart rate spikes, your breathing becomes shallow, your muscles tense up, and your blood vessels constrict. Your body is flooded with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. While you might be able to force a climax in this state, it will be a shallow, unsatisfying, and often anxious one. You completely miss out on the healing cascade of hormones that come from a relaxed state, the parasympathetic nervous system. This is where you get the flood of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, serotonin, the feel-good hormone, and a healthy dopamine release. When you rush, instead of feeling relaxed and energized, you feel drained and empty. Over time, this trains your body that pleasure is supposed to be fast and disconnected, making it harder and harder to slow down and truly connect with a partner, or even with yourself. The solution: give yourself the gift of time. Intentionally double the amount of time you normally take. And incorporate conscious breathing. Before you even begin, try this. Inhale slowly through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold your breath for 4 seconds. Exhale slowly through your mouth for 4 seconds. And hold at the bottom for 4 seconds. Do this just 3 or 4 times. This simple act of box breathing signals to your entire nervous system that it is safe to relax. It shifts you out of fight or flight and into rest and receive. There is no finish line. The goal is not the destination. The goal is the journey itself. Mistake number 4. Ignoring the forgotten muscle of manhood. There is a group of muscles in your body that is absolutely critical to your sexual function, yet most men have never even heard of it, let alone trained it. I'm talking about the pelvic floor. Imagine a muscular hammock or sling at the base of your torso. This is your pelvic floor. It supports your bladder and prostate. It controls the flow of urine. And, critically, it is the hidden engine that powers your erections and controls the intensity of your orgasms. In your youth, this muscle was strong and responsive without you even thinking about it. But after decades of sitting, and a general lack of awareness, this vital muscle has, for most men, become weak, dormant, and disconnected. I remember a patient, a former college athlete in his late 60s, who was deeply frustrated. He was eating right, he was still active, but as he put it, the power is gone. He felt his erections weren't as firm and his orgasms felt weak. The problem wasn't his heart or his hormones. It was his completely dormant pelvic floor. When you masturbate without an engaged pelvic floor, or worse, when you bear down and push outwards as if having a bowel movement, you are putting immense pressure on your prostate and further weakening the very foundation of your sexual function. This directly contributes to urinary leakage, weaker erections, and a less intense climax. The solution: you need to wake these muscles up. We do this with Kegel exercises, but it's all about doing them correctly. Lie down comfortably. Now, without clenching your buttocks, your thighs, or your abdominal muscles, gently tighten the same internal muscle you would use to stop the flow of urine midstream. It's an upward and inward lift. Hold that gentle squeeze for 3 to 5 seconds, and then release it completely for 3 to 5 seconds. The release is just as important as the squeeze. Aim to do a set of 10 of these once or twice a day. You are rebuilding that foundation, restoring power, control, and a level of sensation you thought was lost forever. Now, we need to talk about frequency. And even if you're doing everything else right, getting this next part wrong can either drain your vitality or let your function wither on the vine. And it's right after this that we'll get to the mistake I warned you about, the one that can cause direct, physical, and sometimes irreversible damage. Mistake number 5. A frequency that's too high or too low. This is a delicate subject, one often shrouded in guilt or confusion. Men ask me all the time, "Doc, what's the right number?" The truth is, there is no single magic number, but there are healthy principles. And both extremes can be harmful. On one end, we have the man who masturbates too frequently, often daily or even more. This is rarely driven by true, vibrant desire. More often, it's a habit born of boredom, stress, or unresolved emotional needs. When it becomes a mindless, compulsive habit, the body often can't keep up. Your prostate tissue can become inflamed and irritated, leading to a condition called chronic prostatitis. Your energy levels can plummet, and your brain becomes so accustomed to easy, low-effort release that your interest in the beautiful, complex dance of real intimacy can fade. It becomes a drain on your vital force. On the other extreme, some men stop altogether. Perhaps it's due to a health scare, a medication side effect, religious guilt, or the simple, sad belief that they are too old for that now. But your body operates on a fundamental use it or lose it principle. Sexual arousal, even when you're alone, is the body's natural way of flushing the system. It delivers a rich supply of oxygenated blood to the penis, which nourishes the nerve endings and keeps the erectile tissues, the corpora cavernosa, pliable and healthy. When that function is absent for too long, genuine physical atrophy can set in. The tissue can shrink and lose its elasticity. It's not a moral issue, it's a physiological one. The solution: listen to your body, not a rulebook. For most men over 60 who are in reasonably good health, a conscious, mindful practice of self-pleasure 1 to 3 times per week often represents a healthy sweet spot. It's enough to keep the plumbing working and the circulation robust, but not so much that it becomes a drain. The key is the intention. Is it a conscious act of self-care, connection, and pleasure? Or is it a mindless, draining habit? Your body is speaking to you in a quieter voice these days. Your job is to learn to listen. And now we arrive at the mistake I warned you about. The one that, out of ignorance, causes the most direct physical harm. The one men turn to when they get frustrated, and in doing so, they dig themselves into a deeper hole. Mistake number 6. Using a death grip of force. This is one of an aging man's greatest paradoxes and most destructive habits. As a man's natural neurological sensitivity declines slightly with age, his primal instinct is to compensate with more force. A tighter grip, more pressure, more aggressive, rapid friction. He thinks he needs to fight his way to an orgasm. He believes that intensity is the answer to his fading sensation. Let me be unequivocally clear. As your doctor and your advocate, force does not restore feeling. It destroys it. The nerves in your penis are incredibly delicate. The tissue itself is a sponge, not a rock. When you apply excessive, forceful pressure year after year, you are causing real, cumulative damage. You are creating microtears in the delicate erectile tissues. This can lead to the buildup of inelastic scar tissue, a debilitating condition known as Peyronie's disease, which can cause a painful curvature, lumps, and make a firm erection impossible. You are also crushing the very nerve endings you're trying to stimulate. It's a process of callousing. You are literally training your body to only respond to brutal levels of force, making it almost impossible to feel pleasure from a gentle, loving touch. I had a patient, Bill, 74 years old, a proud man who broke down in my office. He confessed that he could only achieve climax with a grip so tight that it left his hand cramping and his penis sore for a day afterward. He had, over decades, trained his body to be deaf to anything but a shout. The solution? This requires patience and a radical shift in mindset. It's about resensitizing. The first step is to always use a high-quality lubricant. Always. Second, you must make a conscious decision to use 50% less pressure than you are used to. First, this will feel like nothing is happening. You will get frustrated. This is the critical moment. Instead of giving in and squeezing harder, stay with the gentle sensation. Focus on it. Explore it. This practice, sometimes called sensate focus, is about rediscovering touch without a goal. Over weeks and months, you will be retraining your nerves to fire again in response to a whisper, not a scream. Your body deserves your care, not your combat. And finally, mistake number 7, the sin of emotional disconnection. We've talked about the physical, the mental, and the mechanical, but this last mistake is the most invisible and in many ways the most profound. It's not about what your hands are doing or where you are or how often. It's about what your heart is doing. For far too many older men, self-pleasure becomes a completely mechanical act. An empty, routine chore stripped of all emotion, connection, or intention. It becomes a joyless habit performed in the dark, often tinged with a subtle sense of loneliness or even shame. When you go through the motions with a disconnected heart, you are training your entire being that pleasure is supposed to be meaningless. You may get the temporary physical release, but you are robbing yourself of the deep neurological and hormonal rewards. There is no presence. There is no warmth. There is no gratitude for the body that has carried you for 7, 8, or even 9 decades. This emotional distance is a quiet tragedy. It reinforces the damaging belief that you are separate from your own joy, that pleasure is something to be taken or gotten over with, rather than something to be inhabited and felt. The solution? Infuse the act with intention. Before you begin, take one single breath and ask yourself, what is my loving intention for myself in this moment? Perhaps the intention is simply to feel good. Perhaps it's to relax. Perhaps it's to feel gratitude for my body. It can be a moment to reconnect with yourself, not in shame, but in a spirit of sacred self-care. It's the difference between mindlessly swallowing a meal while watching TV and savoring every single bite. The act can be the same, but the experience, and the nourishment you receive from it is worlds apart. Your path forward, from unconscious habit to conscious choice. All right, let's bring it all home. We've just pulled back the curtain on 7 deep-seated, unconscious habits. And if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, that's perfectly normal. But I don't want you to feel shame. I want you to feel empowered. The single thread running through every one of these mistakes is disconnection. Disconnection from your brain's natural chemistry, from your body's need for blood flow, from your muscles, from your own emotions. The path back to vitality, therefore, is a path of reconnection. And that journey does not start by trying to fix all 7 things at once. That's a recipe for failure. Right now, I want to give you a clear, powerful, and achievable call to action. I want you to make a small, private contract with yourself. Your task is to choose just one. That's it. Look back over these 7 mistakes and pick the one that resonated with you the most. The one that made you say, "That's me." And for the next week, I want you to focus solely on that one thing. If it's the death grip, your contract is to use lubricant and 50% less pressure. If it's rushing, your contract is to do your 3 deep breaths before you begin. If it's the screen, your contract is to use your mind. Just one thing. Please, take a moment now and in the comments below, share which of these 7 points you are choosing as your starting point. You don't need to share any private details. Simply writing, "Number 6 for me," or "I'm starting with number 3, does 2 powerful things. First, it makes your commitment real. Second, it shows the other good men reading this that they are not alone on this journey. Do not expect an overnight miracle. You are gently rerouting pathways that have been paved for decades. But I promise you, if you commit to this small first step, you will begin to notice a change. It may be subtle at first. A little more warmth, a little more sensation, a little less anxiety. But soon you will feel a spark you thought was gone forever. And that feeling, my friend, is not just physical. It is the feeling of hope. It is the feeling of being back in the driver's seat of your own life. Remember this: age is not a thief that is here to rob you of your strength. It is a wise teacher, inviting you to become a master craftsman, to be more present, more mindful, and more deeply connected to the incredible body that has carried you this far. Your story is not over. The next, most vibrant and connected chapter of your life, it begins with the very next conscious choice you make. Thank you for trusting me with your time and attention today. Be well.